It is 11 a.m. on the East Coast and 6 p.m. in Gaza, where Hamas is expected to free more hostages today. The militant group released 11 more hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners yesterday. Dozens more believed to be still held captive in Gaza.
The first of multiple U.S. military planes are expected to land in Egypt today to deliver critical humanitarian aid to Gaza. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit Israel and the West Bank this week to continue diplomatic talks. CBS News has learned that CIA Director Bill Burns is in Qatar to discuss the conflict and the release of more hostages. I want to bring in Imtiaz Tyab now. He is following the latest from Jerusalem for us. Imtiaz, always good to see you. What can you tell us about the truce the extension to this truce?
Yeah, Marie, there was a lot of hope that this extension would happen, and it looks like it is happening. This initial deal, expired this morning at 7 a.m., but we know that the fighting in Gaza has not restarted, which of course is incredible news for the people in Gaza whose lives have just been turned upside down. Now, what we understand is that the contours of this deal, which was negotiated, brokered really by Qatar, by Egypt, of course with help with the U.S. as well, is that we will see a further 10 hostages released tonight and tomorrow night in exchange for 30 Palestinian prisoners tonight and again tomorrow night. And there's even hope that this deal could be extended even further. And of course, if you consider just the mood here in Israel, a country so traumatized by the October 7th attacks, of course, a country which so desperately wanted to see the release of hostages and has been following every update so intensely and so closely with such emotion, there's a lot of pressure on the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to keep this deal going, to keep the pressure on to allow more of these hostages come out. But there are politics here at play, Anne-Marie, and those are the politics of Netanyahu's own coalition government, which has been described as the most extreme far-right government in Israel's history. Members in his cabinet are not happy that the war in Gaza has stopped, that the war, in their view, against Hamas, which, as we know, has killed nearly 15,000 Palestinians, has devastated huge areas of the Gaza Strip, creating a humanitarian crisis which we haven't seen the likes of in many, many years, that there are factions inside his government that want to see the fighting restarted, but it's the Israeli public who want to see these hostages released. And so the concern is that given the pressure that Netanyahu is facing within his own cabinet, that these hostage releases that we've been seeing, which again have buoyed this country so much, and indeed Palestinians in the West Bank, could come to an end abruptly, and that violence could resume. Anne-Marie.
Imtiaz, you've done sort of an excellent job at giving us sort of a look at the landscape. There are a lot of pressures, a lot of factors pushing and pulling. And one of them, of course, I'm sure, is pressure from the U.S. We know that a number of hostages are American citizens. Only one has been released so far, a 4-year-old girl. Is there any sort of word or any information about other Americans being released?
You know, it's incredible, Anne-Marie. We have a lot of information about some of the hostages, but we know very little about the Americans. All I can really tell you is we understand that 2 are women and 7 are men. That's really all we know. And we understand that 1 isn't a U.S. citizen, but is a resident of the United States. That's really all we know. But as you rightfully say, President Biden has made it clear that he will not rest until all Americans being held in Gaza will be released. But here's the complexity. We talk about this agreement between Israel and Hamas. There are multiple armed factions inside Gaza who took part in the October 7th attacks, in which you had Hamas and indeed these other factions carry out this brutal attack on southern Israel. Some of those factions are holding these hostages, and Hamas has had to go to these factions and say, we need to extend this truce. We need to ensure that aid is coming into Gaza, and presumably for Hamas, for them to recalibrate and bring themselves together after Israel's brutal 50-day bombardment of the Gaza Strip. And so like you described it, there's pushing and pulling not only in Israel, but that's also happening on the ground inside Gaza. But again, there's an awful lot of pressure externally on Hamas, of course, from Qatar and from Egypt, who have been directly dealing with Hamas, trying to negotiate a path forward. But of course, that is a very uncertain path, with many people in Gaza, in Israel, the West Bank, and beyond, hoping that not only will we see hostages released, not only will more Palestinian prisoners released, but that the violence in Gaza comes to an end for good, not just for a few days.
Yeah, that is the ultimate goal, Imtiaz. Thank you.